It's still chapter 16. It means that you'll have the chapter 17 here.
Yeah, I see chapter 17.
But one page. I left one page probably to the back or the front of chapter. That probably it. Yeah, that's it. So you see in the end of the page where it says end of note. There, it says end of note in the center of one side. On the bottom of that it says, but God affects this joining of tavuna to action. That part. So it says, we mentioned last week. And we will need not to do this at length again, to elaborate at length, for we again did that the week before. We stopped over here. That's why we wanted to finish the Perek, but we didn't get a chance to. With the Alter Rebbe saying over here, what is the point of Hashem combining the machshava to the maisa? We said last week also that it doesn't say that the good thought Hashem considers as if it's done, but Hashem connects, mitzaref. That itself said that there is the action and there is the thought, there's missing a link in between. What is the link in between? Is the heart. And because heart, many times, it doesn't always express itself, and even if it does, sometimes very subtly, and not the way the heart should and can express itself, especially as we explain what kind of a great contributor heart is to every performance of man. And in the context of Avodas Hashem, how much it helps and how much it adds and how much it changes the entire effect of Avodas Hashem when it's done with heart. But in heart, it's not always there. That's the Vart Alter Rebbe established. Not always is heart there, at least in to the full in full expression, the way it could be and the way ideally it would be. And again, if it is, it does enormous in our Avodas Hashem. So therefore this person has the thought, means he has that determination to go on with the relationship with Hashem despite he doesn't have the feeling. The action he also has, because he actually goes on with thought, speech, and action, does the Teda. The problem is he's missing the link. Hashem is the one who adds this link as if he did it with heart. And why is the heart so important? Because the heart becomes the wings which elevate the Teda Mitzvahs on high, again as we explained in length the last week. So he says that what does Hashem accomplish? That Hashem elevates the Torah. In other words, what do we need, or what happens when Hashem volunteers, kaviyachol, so to say, to connect the two, that it as if it was done with heart. So it elevates the Torah mitzvahs to a place which is called Olam Habriya. We had it in the past. There's a difference Olam HaYitzira and Olam Habriya. It says Olam HaYitzira, there's four elements, there's 4 worlds. We are not going to go into the 4 worlds right now, which is one is Atzilus, Bri, Yitzir, Nasir, which we dealt with it in the past. We're going to see it online as well. In the first chapter, in the second chapter of Tanya, the first time he introduces the order of Atzilus, Bri, Yitzir, Nasir. But one thing is, it does say that Olam HaBriya is a place where Hashem's intellect nests, where Hashem's intellect resides. And therefore, everything which is produced in Olam Habriya is based on intellect. In other words, if there's expression of feeling, of maybe malachim or maybe neshamis, which served HaKadosh Baruch Hu with fear and love, in other words, the heart played a role in their Avodas Hashem, they are elevated, or they reside in the world of Briya, because, and what is the connection to Hashem's intellect? Meaning that the bases which aroused they were able to arouse such a fervorous feeling towards Hashem is because of their understanding, their profound perception of the reality of God. So therefore they belong in Olam Habriya because their whole emotional experience with Hashem is based on their profound, comprehensive understanding the greatness of Hashem. And in order to understand the greatness of Hashem, Hashem has to open up a certain window. We can't, in essence, understand Him. The fact that Hashem says, V'yadaita hayem, that you can know me, is because I opened up a window for you to know me. It means to say, so Hashem opens up a window. In other words, Hashem's Chacham Bina Das, it says, primarily resides in Briya, in this world of Briya. Hence the feelings which come from the understanding of a Kodesh Baruch Hu are much more potent, much more, it stands much more profound expression. So the neshamis and malachim which serve a Kodesh Baruch Hu via an understanding of a Kodesh Baruch Hu, they reside in Olam Habriya. Now, the malachim, it says, are usually more in Olam HaYitzira. There's and again the difference in Yitzira is where Hashem's midas, it says, reside. Hashem's the midas of Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, even though they primarily in the higher world of Atzilus, but where they stand in a manner of manifestation is Elam HaYitzira. So the neshama, which just serves of HaKadosh Baruch Hu out of the innate love, so there his Torah mitzvahs are elevated to Elam HaYitzira, because there again it's just the feelings in the context of the Avodas Hashem, means this is just the innate love that it has to Hashem, innate love, innate fear. That's our makeup. We have innately as Yidden love and fear to Hashem. So when we do the Torah mitzvahs with that innate love, our Torah mitzvahs go only to Elam HaYitzira, the place where Hashem's midas are. As opposed when there is a love which comes out of a structured and profound understanding of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So naturally those feelings are not the innate feelings which every Yid possesses. They're more of a structured feeling. So therefore the Torah mitzvahs which are performed through this midas, these feelings which come out as a result of contemplation and pondering the greatness of Hashem, obviously are more profound, and therefore the Torah mitzvahs are elevated on a higher level. What level is the level to Elam HaBriya? Now what's the point of Torah mitzvahs being elevated higher? we expounded on this last week also, because there's different, even when a person expresses himself emotionally, there's so many different levels of emotional expression. Emotions can run very deep. There's certain things that one person said something to somebody once, but it comes from such a deep part of the person, it could remain with the listener or who this beautiful word was said to for all their life. They'll never forget. I'll never forget what you said that and that day. Why will you never forget? We forget about so many other things. Why don't we never forget? Because it came, and even things which are associated with feelings also we don't we forget as well. Not so easy, but not so easy, but we forget things which are even emotional experience as well. But in the end, in the end of the day, when we're dealing with a very deep and profound emotional expression, it comes from such a deep part of the person, and again the emotions can run very deep, so it's much harder to forget. Many people do remember for that their entire life a particular incident of kindness which was expressed to them by a person, by another party, which expressed a very deep, profound emotional. So what happened was, because they expressed it in that way, it runs deep in the recipient. Okay? And that's the point of Elam HaYitzira, Elam HaBriya. Each world, it's not like stories, the one story is Elam HaYitzira and Elam HaBriya. What's the difference of the first story, the second story, or the third floor, or the fourth floor? No, we're dealing with a world which is, every world, when you say it's a higher world, means a more godly world. It's creeping in deeper within Hashem. So when we say Elam HaYitzira, it's one level within Hashem. When Hashem, it says Hashem's midah, he said there, and Hashem's chachma bin das, or Elam HaBriya, means to say the feelings which come through chachma bin das, and as I serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with a structured set of feelings. In other words, my feelings are profound and are fervorous and strong, which come from a structured, comprehensive understanding of the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So my mitzvahs, which are performed based on these feelings, were done in such a different and qualitative level of mitzvah. So they reach a deeper level of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Like I say, a deeper expression from me will reach you deeper, will enter deeper into you, and vice versa. This is what he says. The good thing about Hashem making this link and making this, connecting the machshava tevet to maisa, which means he's introducing the heart, even though the Yid didn't have it on his own. So how did he do the mitzvah? He did a mitzvah because he's a Yid. He did a mitzvah with the innate love and fear. So the innate love and fear will go up to Elam HaYitzira, guaranteed. Unfortunately, we could do it without that also. A person does Torah mitzvahs just to, without any fear, any love, it won't budge from basically where it originally is. And chas v'shalom, if a person does Torah mitzvahs just to gain other external gains, to receive honor or any other thing, so then not only it's not being elevated, it's quite on the contrary. The Torah mitzvahs could fall into places of true galus, which means the Torah mitzvahs could fall into a place because the person does it for any ulterior motives. So the ulterior motives, which is unholy, for gaiva, for sake of self-recognition and haughtiness and so on, which is associated with klipa, impurity, that takes the Torah mitzvahs and covers it, like it covers it in this. It's a sack which hides the Torah mitzvahs, and the Torah mitzvahs are in galus in that sack. It's not simple. The Gemara says that someone learns Torah mitzvahs shalei lishma, it becomes like a poison. How does Torah mitzvah become poison? It's because not that Torah mitzvah are essentially chas v'shalom poison, because the person learned it for ulterior motives, other motives. So the motives which are unholy, covered, grab it and put the Torah into a sack. Into a sack means to say it covers it, it encloses the Torah mitzvahs and doesn't let the Torah mitzvahs be free. Because the reason, the motivation why you did Torah mitzvahs is because this, that, and the other, which were unholy purposes. So that grabs the Torah mitzvahs, and it's very hard to alleviate. In other words, you got to do certain tshuva to get rid of that covering in order that Torah itself should be alleviated. But we're not talking about, that's nonsense. Torah mitzvahs to do something shalei lishma, to take the Eibishter's Torah and do it for alternative motives is stama narishkeit, and obviously it exists. The Gemara deals with it. The person learning Torah shalei lishma, and people learn Torah. This one should say this, and this one should talk about it. It's in the end of the day, it's on its own. Ideally, conceptually, it's a nonsense. It's the holiest object that we have, the holiest of holy, the Torah. And to use it for any ulterior motives on its own, it doesn't. But it exists. Obviously, the Torah deals with it. But here we're talking about someone Torah doesn't chas v'shalom learn Torah shalei lishma. Learns Torah. So he does it because he just does it. That's what he was trained to do, without any negative, unholy motives. It just is. So that really doesn't budge from the Elam HaSiyah, because it's just action which he invests in the mitzvah. Then a person does something with a little motivation. In other words, with a certain understanding, or the innate love, innate fear, which were a bit manifest. In other words, you find yid within it. So it's obviously elevated, which means it's profoundly coming from me. It's profoundly entering in a deeper part of the Eibishter. So it says, what world is it entering? Elam HaYitzira. Because that's the place where the midas of Hashem. But if he does it with midas, structured midas, with a certain feeling, sentiment, and fervorous expression of emotional expression, so which only can come with a structured understanding. How could someone have a strong feeling of Hashem if he doesn't have any understanding of Hashem? That's what the Torah says as a step before v'hashivayis alavecha or v'haftas Hashem alikecha, love, you have to have yadaita, you have to have Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, you have to have a profound understanding in the greatness of Hashem. That's why it's important to learn chassidus, to learn which the yadaita, not only the musar, what to do, which this is also important. We don't have to wait till we understand, we have a feeling what to do. We always have to even learn musar, but there's a special mitzvah yadaita, nothing could substitute it. Pasha, to learn about the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And which is again in Kabbalah we can't really understand. This is the uniqueness of Chassidus, that it is hundreds and thousands of Sfarim which deal with the Yedi, V'yadaita, like the Rambam says, Allah Rambam, I'm not saying anything of my own, or promoting Chassidus Chabad per se. This is the Lashon of the Rambam. The Rambam says you cannot gain a true structured love and fear to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in Chas Tshuva if you don't have a clear Chochma Bina Das. Interesting, he uses Chochma Bina Das there. In a clear understanding, Yadaita, nothing of substitutes, knowledge of Hashem. So knowledge of Hashem produces a much more profound level of fear, love, not the innate fear, love as a yid. But so my mitzvahs are performed with much more profound part of myself. Hence, it reaches a more profound part of Hashem. What is that? The Elam HaBriya. So again, getting back to what we were learning, the context over here where we left off last week. What if I don't have the love? Is it a deficiency? Well, it's a deficiency on the service. I'm not able to express myself with such. With my performance of Torah mitzvahs is not on the highest level that it could be. But the fact is, it exists. As we mentioned last week, time and again, the feelings fluctuate. And just like in any relationship, you can never expect it two times, or two different instances should be the same. Feelings fluctuate. They come and go. No 2 days are the same. No 2 moments could be the same. In our Avodas Hashem, Alter Rebbe says that he's in tune with his reality. That not always we have the Avos Hashem and Yiras Hashem. The problem is, where's the Torah mitzvah going to end up? Even it's going to end up in Elam HaYitzira, but it could go further. It could go into Elam HaBriya, higher, a deeper part within HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And what do we gain again if you reach deeper in HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Or if you do it with a deeper part of you, you're reaching a deeper level of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You reach a deeper level of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the relationship also intensifies and enhances. And it's wonderful to have a proper relationship with Hashem. Like any other partner we want it not only to be robotic, because robotic it could fall apart. We want it to always have an emotional touch, because if it's an emotional, then it is chai, there's energy in the relationship. And if energy in a relationship it is healthy and it only enhances it, and there's continuity and so on. That's the type of relation we want to have with Hashem. So if it comes to a deeper part of us, it goes to a deeper part deeper part within Hashem. When it goes to a deeper part of Hashem, again, the relationship is also, Hashem reciprocates from with the deeper part within Him. So it's so beautiful for us. So there's a chisaron, there's a problem now. What if the person doesn't have that love, which is again normal, as we said, very normal. Doesn't have love. It's very normal. It could happen. But the problem is, what about that Torah mitzvahs? Here we have Hashem volunteers and he expresses, says, I'm going to make the connection. You have the machshava, you have that steadfast resolution that you're going to sort of continue in the relationship. In other words, by a Torah mitzvahs, with again via where did that steadfast determination comes from? It comes from the neshama. It comes from that innate love and fear to what he has to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's guaranteed to go up to Elamai Yitzira. But what about the fact that the Torah, had it been with a booming love, a fervorous love, it would have gone higher? Hashem makes the link and says, I'm going to add this key, this link, which is missing in, again, as we mentioned last week, it's not always there. Because again, feelings fluctuate, Hashem adds that. And what do you gain? That the mitzvahs are going to go up to the higher place, to Elam Abriya. That's what he concludes this Pedic, and let's try to read it inside. So he says, right? We have it inside? We have it inside, yes? Which is the same, but God's effects. But God's effects in joining the Tnuva to action. The end of the page where it says end of note, right? You got it? This combination, to elevate to the action of the mitzvahs, and the learning Torah, now, which is done not through feelings but through the machshava teva, that determination to maintain the relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem's input will elevate it to the world of Bria, which is usually, classically, mucking the place, which is usually the place of the elevation of the Torah mitzvahs, which are done through fear and love, which are produced through structured sichlim, structured intellect, as if you did it with a fervous love to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is going to reveal love, not a hidden love. Without Hashem's input over here of making that connection, it'll go to the lower world, through the natural, innate love and fear which are hidden in the heart of every single Yid B'Tol Deisam. At birth, again, it's an innate love. Like Al Tereb is going to explain that every single Yid, even he has no structure la'ava v'yira, nonetheless, he's a Yid, he has a neshama, he has that innate love and fear coming from all the way from Avraham and Yaakov, which again inherited us this ava v'yira, which is the carb, the basic makeup of the Yid. And this Torah mitzvahs, which definitely was done because the Yid has the neshama and he has that inherited ava v'yira from Avraham and Yaakov, from our Avis, Yerushas Avis, so therefore it's also obviously going to go to the BAYT. The problem is, it can go deeper if it was done b'shleimus in a complete manner. It can go even deeper with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is the Elam HaBriya. This is where the Eibishter HaKadosh Baruch Hu metzarf l'mais. And again, just to repeat that beautiful diak, it doesn't say that it's as if you did it. It says HaKadosh Baruch Hu metzarf l'mais. What means metzarf l'mais? It means to say when you say metzarfa, you connect. You say there is machshava, there is that thought, that determination, and there is the learning Torah and doing mitzvahs, there's mitzvah as well, there's the action as well. You're missing the link. HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitzarfa as that link, as if you did it with a revealed expression of your heart, and again, therefore, because Hashem's bonus, it's going to ascend to Elam HaBriya, to the higher world, meaning deeper within Hashem. And like we said, like it's explained later again, that already pertains to what we said before, that everybody has the innate love, but again, it's going to go up. The bonus, what we gain through that bonus of Hashem's stepping in and acknowledging that not always we're able to have our heart in a full sense of expression, Hashem, that bonus which Hashem says, I'm going to make the connection, allows the Torah mitzvahs to ascend deeper within HaKadosh Baruch Hu till Elam HaBriya. Again, this is the end of the chapter 16. And then we go on to chapter 17. What is Al Tereb going to say? He's going to prove this. All we said in 16, he's going to prove it from a pasuk. A pasuk in Torah. An interesting pasuk in Torah. And what is the pasuk? Pasuk in Dvarim, which we're going to shortly read, and which is going to prove that even when you don't have the heart is not able to express itself fully in your Avodas Hashem, still there is a mandate in Torah via this pasuk to go on in the relationship, the way it reflects in our complete observance and devotion to the actual Torah mitzvahs, to learning Torah and doing mitzvahs. Which pasuk do we see it? Where do we see in the pasuk? This is understood. It says in the pasuk, that this, which is referring to Torah, it says in a number of places referring to the mitzvah of tshuva, but pashta simply means this whole package of Torah mitzvahs is karev ilach. It's close to you, and ma'id is very close to you. In your mouth and your heart, to do it, to express it in action. And if you remember, the Alter Rebbe began in the very beginning of the Shar, in other words, the opening page of the Tanya, before even the Alter Rebbe begins the Tanya, he says he's here to explain this pasuk. Why do you have to explain this pasuk? Based on the question the Alter Rebbe asks over here, can you say that it's karev? Can you say it's easy for a person bichlal to do Torah mitzvahs? If you say that it's difficult, Torah will admit it's difficult to constantly be aligned with the Ratzon Hashem, but I want you to do it anyway despite it's difficult. What does it mean, karev ilecha? It's close to you? I don't know if it's close. You got to do it anyway. If it's close, it's not close. But Torah says it's close. But namely, which is bothering the Alter Rebbe, again, we elaborated then as well before on that page, in the first page, in the opening page of the Tanya. But the Alter Rebbe is namely bothered over here with the word vilvavcha. Could you say the heart is close to Hashem? Say the heart, the average heart, is karev elecha. It's close to Hashem. The average heart is it's hard to say that. And we're not talking about the makeup, the Pintel Yid, which is obviously close. There's nothing else other than HaKadosh Baruch by the Pintel. But you're talking about Bilvavcha, though, in other words, where's my heart? Ask an average person if he's only honest. Very honest, he plays an important role in Avodas Hashem. Kamuvim b'Pashat, obviously, need not to be mentioned. You're asking, where's your heart? I mean, it's in this, that, and the other. I'll still serve Hashem despite my heart is in this, that, and the other. I try from time to time to put my heart into things which are godly and so on, but to say that it's karev, that it's close, meaning to say it's my heart is kind of, it's driven constantly elecha, it's karev. That's what Alter Rebbe has a problem with this pasuk. It's contrary to our character. And the Torah is eternal. It doesn't make. It wasn't referring to the times of the Tanoim, or the times of Moshe Rabbeinu, or to Moshe Rabbeinu, and to the great sages or people in Yidden among all of Am Yisrael throughout all times. It's eternal. It refers to every single Yid. The Torah belongs to every single Yid. Yerusha Torah Tzivilonu Merod Moshe Meirasha Kilas Yaakov. It belongs to every single Yid, and it's eternal. It's in all times, so it's not excluded to a certain time. And if Torah says Bilvavcha, that in your heart it's close to you, it has to be so. But the Alter Rebbe is asking, isn't neged achushalon? Isn't it contrary to the character of man to say that it's close? And to say very. You see, the Torah adds the word ma'id, very close. But it's realistic. It's not karev. We can work on it. We can attain it. But you can't say it's close to us to transform our hearts from our temptations to worldly matters, to Avas Hashem, to love HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and be'emes. We're not talking about I'm Aneiv Hashem. We're talking about be'emes over here. The person's heart should love Hashem and not have any taivas olam hazeh. There are people which existed, maybe exist today as well, but you could say karev to every single yid. It's an important question. And the Rebbe adds more so. The Gemara says, "Oti yir milsa zutra sehi b'kolshki navo." The famous Gemara. There's a Gemara rather, where the Gemara asks a question on the pasuk, which we just read in Parshas Eikev. That Moshe Rabbeinu stands in front of the Yid, right? The whole Parshas Dvarim, from beginning to the end, is Moshe Rabbeinu talking to the Verbringen with the Am Yisrael. There's dvarim from beginning to the end. There's no Vaydaber Hashem Meshalem. I don't even think it says once. Maybe it does. I don't think so. No, it's all the whole dvarim. It's Eil Dvarim Moshe. Moshe speaking to the people, reinforcing this, reinforcing that, and trying to he rebukes them, and he tells them this. He brings them memories of their follies and failures. So I mean, he's trying to, in the end of the day, not to bring out the negative, but to uplift them, that eventually they should hold on to Torah mitzvahs forever and ever. One of the psukim, the Moshe Rabbeinu stands there and he says, BAYT Yisrael, speaks to the Yid, and he says, Ma Hashem Elokecha Moshe Mimachkim Liyira. What's Hashem asking from you already? Just the fear of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? Do you find that anyone have a problem with the statement over here? It's like telling somebody, it's not like Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, you know guys, you got to fear God. Not saying that. He said, what is Hashem asking you already? To fear God. It's like, you say somebody, even someone who's, let's say, capable of writing a check $1 million, let's say, right? He's not a billionaire. He's just feeling very comfortable. In today's day and age, there's so many millionaires, let's say, right? And you tell that very million, what am I asking for you already? Write a check $1 million. He can, but it's incorrect to say, what am I asking for you already? If you tell someone who's wealthy, you can say, could you spare some change, or $5, and the guy says, "This is what I'm asking you. I'm asking $5. You're living a very comfortable life. What I'm asking you, $5? That makes sense, right?" When you ask someone to write a check of $100,000 in today's day and age, or $1 million, even someone who's capable of writing a check of $1 million, at least now, maybe like you said the other, maybe in 10 years it'll be different, right? But now you can't say, "What am I asking you ready from? What am I asking for you ready to write a check of $1 million?" I have to say, despite it's hard to write a check of $1 million, please, because it's important of this and this cause, you please write a check of $1 million. That makes sense. You don't say, "What am I asking for you already?" That's when you're asking something trivial, something small. Then it makes sense to say BAYT Yisrael, rather to say, "What am I asking from you already?" Something small. But if it's something big, you give it the appropriate attention or the appropriate wording, because it is essentially something big, something important. Writing an important check is something. It's not true. It's a decision one has to make. You could explain the importance of it, but you can't say, what am I asking you? Why am I saying this example? Because you find similarly in the Torah, and this is really bothering the Gemara. Moshe Rabbeinu is standing by Yid, and he says, "Guys, what is God asking me already? To fear Him." So the Gemara picks up and says, hello. If Moshe Rabbeinu would say, fearing God is not simple. We're not talking about doing what Hashem wants. If Moshe says, guys, shake the lulav and esrog once a year. You could say it's an effort. You have to buy an esrog, but you could still say, Hashem, what is Hashem asking you just to do that? Okay, or another action. But Moshe Rabbeinu is talking about a heart expression and a heart feeling. Fear Hashem. Now, it's not unattainable. It is very attainable because it's part of the mitzvahs. But to fear Hashem, a person who says, "Gaita b'yira," brings it later. There's a toil to bring out the fear which exists, the innate fear which exists within every single yid. It should come to the surface that he should really be someone who stands with awe and reverence in front of Hashem, or demonstrates reverence to Hashem. So then Moshe Rabbeinu would say, "My friends, it's important to have fear of Hashem. Got to work on it. It's good." That makes sense. That would make sense because it's something one has to toil to extract the fear of Hashem, Yiras Hashem. But Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't come that way. He says, "BAYT Yisrael, my friends, the Yidden, or now my Yidden, what is Hashem asking right of you? To fear Hashem." That doesn't sound right because and the Gemara picks up that question. Then the Gemara says, "Otu Yira Milse Zutresi." The Gemara asks, Is fear something simple and trivial that you could just say, "What is Hashem asking from you already?" So could you imagine the Gemara is asking this about fear to the average person, into the Eved Hashem, God-serving Yid? There's no question that it's much easier to attain fear of Hashem than love to Hashem, because fear and reverence is something which it's not easy. Again, the Gemara asks it pertaining Moshe Rabbeinu's wording over here. But between love and fear, love is so much harder to attain. Love to Hashem, even much harder than fear. Like a child, even like when there is a master servant or authority and subject, or authority and even follower. There's the first thing, there's a fear. When fear is a king, you find out the quality of the king and you see the king's kindness and so on, then you could arouse within yourself a love to the king or a drive to the king. But the first thing, when you're dealing with, again, higher authority, lower authority, or follower, the first thing is fear. Child, parents, and it doesn't mean fear of punishment, just that reverence. Teacher in a class, or a general in an army, and so on. It is when you're dealing what comes first is yira, and even yira. So again, similar to Hashem, what comes first and what comes even chronologically would come yira, first fear and reverence of Hashem. Then I understand the greatness of Hashem, and I understand. I invest in my understanding, in my profound understanding of the greatness of Hashem, the Gdula of Hashem, like it says, Gdula zu Chesed. Then I could arouse it in myself, and again I toil very hard to also have a strong, true feeling of love to Hashem. So the Alter Rebbe is pointing out, if the Gemara has a question like fear, and Moshe Rabbeinu's expression, Ma Hashem Elokecha, how much more so when it comes to love? And what does the Torah say? Ki karev elecha, it's close to you. It's not only close to you, it's karev elecha ma'ed, it's very close to you. What? Bilvavcha, to not only have fear to Hashem, but love to Hashem. How could you say ki karev elecha? So again, it's not that the Alter Rebbe is questioning if it's obtainable to us. Obviously, with much toil and much effort, we can extract the love which exists within everything in the neshama, that it should come to expression, to state of manifestation. But to say it's karev, the average person has a love to other things, to worldly, even not things which are sin, but even things which are around them, things which are worldly inclinations. And to transform that to love HaKadosh Baruch Hu, could you say that that's karev elecha ma'ed? And Alter Rebbe adds, that even the Razal tell us that tzaddikim dafkim lubi b'shusam. That tzaddik has conquered his heart. The average person, his heart is going in different directions. Even the Bainim, like we said, he has to control his heart. He has to control his heart. When you say something, he has to control his heart. That itself says that his heart is going in different directions. That's not karev ma'ed, that his heart is a lecha to Hashem. Only a tzaddik is living b'shusam. So what Alter Rebbe is going to point out, let's continue in the text. Alter Rebbe is going to point out, this is the proof from this pasuk. The information, the importance of the Torah's mandate on the information we said in the chapter 16. Because if you look in the pasuk says, "Uvilvavcha la'aseiser." You see how they're juxtaposed, these two words. "Uvilvavcha la'aseiser" means to say, your heart, the way your heart will express action. Not necessarily is the pasuk dealing with that fervorous love a yid can have today. That's not particularly karev elecha. It's the love which establishes that determination that despite I don't feel so much, I'm going to continue with the relationship. Like we said before, we gave the example in a marriage or any type of relationship. It's the vilvav chalasei, that is karev. In other words, in a relationship, again, in any type, father, son, and spousal relationship, let's say a classic relationship is called ish, and we're called isha. The vilvav chalasei is karev. The fact that you could have some type of a heart lasei that expresses itself. I'm going to do what I have to do. If I'm asked, could you please bring me a chair, despite I'm tired and everything. So when I was the day I got married, let's say, so then there was a strong, fervorous love, and a love which is full of expressions. And bring me a chair. I'm running. That's love, overt love. Let's say when a person, or any time a person has a good feeling about the other person. That's the love on its own. It will reflect in doing everything, speaking nice, but that comes consequently. But what's on the surface is the love. But throughout the entire, with other times and periods in the relationship, with the levavcha is more subdued. But what is karev is levavcha lasei. The fact that you will continue maintaining the relationship. Bring a chair, yeah, bring a chair. Tired, doesn't matter. But the levavcha lasei, that the heart, the minimal heart, just to at least do. A healthy person has in mind that I'm not going to interrupt the relationship in no form or fashion. Even there's no overt love, and that's what the Eibishter demands. Ki karev elecha, what is close, the vilvavcha, not the vilvavcha on its own, to transform my heart from taivas elam hazeh, from lusts and temptations and inclinations, the worldly matters, to love HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's not karev. That belongs to tzaddikim. But the vilvavcha lasei, that minimal love which I'm not going to ever go out of line with, Ratzon Hashem, that is karev. Because a person has a little brains, you understand. So I don't have that strong, booming feeling to HaKadosh Baruch Hu now. But I want to maintain the relationship. That is with someone with a little understanding, a little brain in his mind. He understands that is karev. Because no normal person wants to say, okay, now I don't feel for you, God, therefore I'm going to chas v'shalom. That minimal lave to keep online, to be online with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, that is Korav, and only Korav Ma'id. Have a good evening.